Now, it's the Jayne Caroll Show on 1360 KUIK, the voice of Washington County.
Well, the Oregon State Legislature is in session for 35 days of hell, as far as I'm concerned. Dan Sandini, a citizen journalist and KUIK contributor, has been out there taking down one of his favorite subjects, Ginny Burdick.
Yep, Ginny was there on Saturday. Jayne, hello to your listeners. You can find all the videos at daylightdisinfectant.com. And I was at a town hall at a place called Stevens Creek Crossing, I think, or Stevens Crossing in southwest Portland, down off Barber Boulevard in Ginny Burdick territory. And there were 5 of them there. There was Jen Williamson, there was Ann Lininger, there was Richard Devlin, there was Margaret Doherty, she's a piece of work, and Ginny Burdick. And all of them talked about guns, and I've got 5 clips to play for you. Ginny Burdick was the worst, and she's going to come last, so we're going to squeeze that one in last. But I want to talk to you about Jen Williamson, who seems to me to be a fast up-and-comer. She is the House Majority Leader for the Dems, and she is sponsoring both of these gun bills. So gun nuts, if you're out there, Ginny Burdick is not taking the point, and as near as I can tell, it's not Floyd Brzezinski either. Maybe one of these is his, but it looks like at least one of them belongs to Williamson. And the one that she's going to talk about is closing the Carolina loophole. And I'll explain that to your listeners after you hear the clip. So let's hear what the Dem speak is on the closing the Carolina loophole. Now, this is the one that has the most likelihood of passing through on the gun legislation. And let's have Mike Bouchot play Williamson's comments here.
So the superintendent of the state police told me that when something doesn't quickly go through the system, there may be a flag. It may be something like a domestic violence restraining order in another county or in another state. So somebody has to pick up the phone and call that county in that other state and say, so what was the relationship between these 2 people? Because I need to figure out if it fits under Oregon law. And so that's the kind of research we're talking about. He also said if you call LA County to get any sort of record out of LA County, it takes 6 months. So there's no way that background check is coming back, and there's nothing we can do about it.
So let's talk about that clip a little bit, Jayne. Jayne, you remember that last year they passed a closing the loophole for private sales. Do you remember that for guns in the state of Oregon?
Oh, remember it well.
Okay. Well, in that bill, there was a provision that if after 3 days the state police could not come back with a good reason for denying you a gun, then your gun rights shall not be infringed, and so that they would act automatically pass you. Now, what's happening inside the state of Oregon is that we are as good as the longest pole in the tent is. So what's happening is when the Oregon State Police run a background check, or you and me, if there is a flag someplace out of any one of the counties across the United States of America, they have to go and look and see what that flag is. Well, what she's saying, what Williamson there is saying is that in L.A. County, if you get a flag there, it's at least 6 months before they can get the details on what that flag is. And so right now, after the 3 days expired, you got your gun check. You were successfully passed. Now what's going to happen after they close the Carolina loophole, quote unquote, okay, you will have, the state police will have indefinitely, okay, to withhold your background check if you got flagged someplace and they can't find out what it's about. And so what does that pan out to in terms of numbers? It turns out that 1,800 of these things last year passed through. Of those, 500 should have been legitimately kicked back, that they were people who shouldn't be buying a gun. But 1,300 Oregonians last year that were just peaceful, law-abiding citizens that should have got their guns would not have got their guns last year. 1,300 people, and that's in 1 year alone last year. So do not let them pass this thing on the Carolina loophole. I don't have the specific bill numbers in front of me. Go out to Oregon Firearms Federation. Ken Starrett has all the numbers there. But, when they talk about those are buzzwords. And when they talk about closing a loophole, it means that someone's going to get between you and your guns. Just translate that into...
Right, and it sounds so good as though some people are getting guns who should not get guns because there's some loophole that lets them have the guns. No, what it is it's building in an automatic delay so that your constitutional rights are are stymied for indefinite periods of time, which is, part of their agenda. The other part about it too is, Dan, and you're probably going to be talking about this in a moment, is with the bill that they're going to introduce, that if anybody turns you in for being, let's say an ex-girlfriend or somebody's mad at you or somebody, they say, that person's mentally unbalanced. That too, coupled with this bill, if those the loophole bill and that happens, then you're blocked from getting a gun, a legal gun.
And yes, it's true. And we're going to lead right into that, Jay. This is the next audio clip we have is about that particular piece of legislation. And talking about it is Representative Ann Lininger. If you're in Jane's audience right now and you got a piece of paper and a pencil, you can also find the videos out on daylightdisinfectant.com. But Ann Lininger, and the last four on her are 1438 down at the Capitol. So it's 503-986-1438. In this particular bill, they are going to establish an 800 number, a gun tip line. So not only can you rat out people who are going to get a gun right now, but you can actually rat out people that you know right now that you think are in a crisis situation or exhibiting bad behavior. Let's play that clip, Mike Bouchot, from Representative Ann Lininger right now.
And there's also some important legislation to help protect schools from gun violence. It has to do with creating a tip line. So a lot of times when someone perpetrates a gun crime, they've given some indication in advance that they were thinking about it. Someone knows that they're thinking about it, or they're in crisis, or going to do something really unsafe for themselves and other people. And so there's a proposal that a school safety task force has put together that's going to come through the Judiciary Committee, I believe, that would enable us to create a designated place that people could call and let you know if they have heard that a peer or a relative or a friend is about to do something really dangerous, so that we can help intervene and protect the schools and protect one another from gun violence. So I will support that one too. Thanks.
Yep, that's the bill. That's the one that anybody can just say anything about you, and they will put a stopgap on your name from acquiring a gun.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, if you have an NRA sticker on the back of your car and somebody sees you pulling your banjo out, maybe you play banjo in a band on the weekend, they're going to rat you out to the tip line. And just the potential for abuse here. And, it's you're going to be guilty until proven innocent. That's what's going to happen with these things. And
absolutely.
Who wants to rat you out can just call the 800 line to do that. And I thought that was a particularly dangerous piece of legislation. It's creepy. I said it's Stasi type. If you look at the video, it says it's Stasi. It's a Stasi type line, and I think that's what it is. That's what they used to do in East Germany, is rat out your neighbors. And in George Orwell's 1984, your neighbors were always looking out at their neighbors, and you always have to be concerned about what you said or did. We've got more clips, so I'm going to hang with you through the break, Jane.
Yes, we want to get all of this on. Dan Sandini, citizen journalist, he's out there telling you what the Democrats are planning to do to your gun rights and how they're planning to keep guns from your possession and stymie your Second Amendment rights. We'll be back. Welcome back, everybody. We're here with citizen journalist Dan Sandini. He's been out there recording some of the Democrats in their town hall meetings, talking about what plans they have to take away your guns and your Second Amendment rights down in the 35-day session of the legislature, which commenced today. Okay, Dan, what have you got for us next? Okay,
well, this guy you probably know, Jane, very well. Senator Richard Devlin, who's head of Ways and Means. I think I've got that right?
Yes, you do.
He's the Democrat from District 19, Tualatin. Please, if you're out there in the audience right now, when we're all done here today, call Richard Devlin at 503-986-1719. Listen in as he talks about having to pre-identify people who are going to commit crimes with their guns. And you can call the 800 tip line that they're going to have set up once you've pre-identified someone who's going to commit a crime. This is creepy. Go ahead and roll that one, Mike.
Part of that, I think many of us know of this, in terms of looking comprehensively on how in particular schools and community colleges and universities can look at issues of active shooters and actually trying to pre-identify them. I don't know about both bills in this particular session if they will pass, to be quite honest, because there are some constitutional issues about one of the bills, not Second Amendment issues, other constitutional issues. I might refer it to my attorney at the end.
They are all, Jane, in that clip, they are all fawning over Richard Devlin, and he's talking about pre-identifying criminals, and he's the guy who's going to fund these bills. So somehow they're going to have to come up with the money. And the person who's coming up next, Margaret Doherty, who is she's a representative from down there in Tualatin as well. She talked about a $5 million figure. I don't think she talks about it in this particular clip, but she does talk about a $5 million budget for getting this tip line thing set up, which is just incredible to me. And let's go, Mike. Let's go ahead and roll with that. Representative Margaret Doherty.
Very briefly, 72 hours to wait to get a gun permit and get your gun is really not very unreasonable. And so I think that that's something that, that we need to look very, very carefully at. And, we went to and we tried to deal with things like people that have committed domestic violence and so on. So I think we've done a good job of being very reasonable in what we've asked people to do and to make sure that we do have background checks on everybody, whether it takes 5 minutes or whether it takes 78 hours.
And if people missed us in the first segment, it's not going to take 72 hours or 78 hours, which are two different numbers. I think Margaret's really losing it. I don't know if you know her personally, Jane, but, I stand in front of her. She's really a dingbat. She reminds me of Edith Bunker. Honestly, I don't know how these people get elected and continue to get elected over and over again. But if anybody has half a brain to them down in Tualatin, or Tigard, I'm not sure which one she is, but you can call her at 503-986-1435. She was spearheading the anti-gun efforts, too. And before we run out of time, Jane, today, I definitely want to get to Senator Ginny Burdick, and she's going to tell you a story, Jane. Now, when we come right into it, Senator Ginny Burdick, who is the chief gun grabber here in the state of Oregon,
has been for a long time.
Okay, she's going to tell you a story right now about how she used to do background checks at the gun shows, and how a gun show dealer sold a guy a gun, and that guy went out and blew his brains out on the sidewalk. Now, I am not doubting the veracity of her story, but my viewers are, and they have been, and I wrote to her today and copied you on the email. We're going to try and find out who the gun dealer was that actually sold the gun that the guy went out and killed himself. And so go ahead and roll.
Let's hear this story.
Do you think it's true? Go ahead and roll it.
I talked to a gun dealer years ago when I was working on the background checks at gun shows who had the traumatic experience of selling somebody a gun and having them go out on the sidewalk and kill themselves. So this is a legitimate discussion. It needs to be had. And it also needs to be had within the context of people who already have guns and are in crisis. I'm sure in my family this has happened before. I'm sure in other families this has happened before. When someone is suicidal or a danger to someone else, you've got to separate them from their guns. But it's very tricky. We need to put a lot of deliberation into it. But I want you to know I'm working on it. And I also want you to know how much I appreciate your support. My district has my back on this.
So
Gag me.
I know, it's terrible. And what I want you to focus in on there is that she says, you've got to separate them from their guns. It's very tricky. That's exactly what she said. And before this, they always start out, Jane, talking about suicidal people or the children. But eventually they work their way into people that are a danger and people that are in crisis. Well, what does that mean? Okay, if a woman is in crisis, if she's in fear of being raped, in fear of her life, I would say she's in crisis, right? With these kinds of things, because you are going to get a lot of people that are rejected unnecessarily from getting their guns.
You don't know for sure, but you have a feeling, and it's all part of the confiscation of guns. There's no question about it. I think you need to, and they'll do it. They really, because these are the people that will say, and they can stop it for months on end, and it's not. There are systems now for people that are, very dangerous, and that's who you call. You call the police, but you don't turn it into some, gossip line. And, you just go through the, the Republican Central Committees and start calling, you call about her, you call about him. It's going to be ridiculous, and I don't think it's going to save any lives. And it's just going to stop more law-abiding citizens from buying guns, which is their right to do. In a sort of a backdoor, sneaky way. And I don't know if Jayne Burdick's story is true, but as you know, Jayne Burdick has earned in our political dictionary here on the Jayne Caroll Show. Her name is synonymous for a lie. It's a synonym, matter of fact. And so I don't trust her as far as I could tell. It's one of those Hillary Clinton kind of stories where you think you can't prove it, but then they have video. And now, if somebody committed a suicide outside of a gun show where Jayne Burdick was checking, yeah, give me a break. That didn't happen.
Well, have your folks go out and watch the video at daylightdisinfectant.com. You can listen to all the audio. It's all subtitled for you out there, too, so you can read it as well.
Thank you so much, Dan. Citizen journalists at work, go check it out, folks. It's very telling.